And at precisely the same time that Aafia went missing, 2 other Al-Qaeda suspects went missing. Hundreds of people were arrested by the Pakistani intelligence services and handed over to the FBI and the CIA as part of the war on terror, or should we say the war of terror, and many of them routinely tortured in places, as we know, like Guantanamo Bay. But in 2008, there was a press conference led by Yvonne Ridley and Sagar Hussain from caged prisoners in Pakistan, which resulted in mass international coverage. Where is Aafia Siddiqui? And a disappearance was questioned by many. It was on the 3rd of August 2008 that an agent from the FBI visited the home of her brother in Texas and told him that she was being detained in Afghanistan. So she goes missing from 2003 to 2008. 5 years. On the 4th of August 2008, the US then confirmed that Aafia Siddiqui had been extradited to the US from Afghanistan, where they allege that she had been detained since mid-July 2008. And the US claims that she was arrested by Afghani forces outside the Ghazni governor's compound, possessing, as they say, dangerous substances in sealed jars. And they further allege that while she was in custody, she grabs an unsecured machine gun in a prison. She's grabbed a machine gun and fired point-blank range at US soldiers, hit absolutely no one, and herself is shot twice in the abdomen. I don't know about you. If I had a gun, I wouldn't leave it in a prison, especially in Afghanistan, especially if I'm a US soldier. And I don't know about you. If I was to shoot a gun, you would see bullet holes in the wall. True or not? You would see that, right? Do you think there was any bullet holes in the walls? No bullet holes. Even there's conflicting reports from the US soldiers and the Afghani police as to what happened. So it's quite clear that Aafia Siddiqui has been framed. Okay, for reasons we don't know. But what happened during these 5 years, Dr. Aafia Siddiqui disappeared from the face of the earth, it seems. Now she claims that she was kidnapped by the Pakistan intelligence service with her children and transferred into US custody. And she further alleges that she was detained in a series of secret prisons for 5 years, during which time she was repeatedly abused, tortured, and raped. Now her claim has backing. It has sound proof, because many of the former detainees in Bagram attested to a female detainee in Bagram, the prisoner with the ID 650. Red Cross also confirmed that a prisoner was a woman that was being detained in Bagram. And immediately after his release from Guantanamo Bay in 2009, the ex-detainee Binyam Mohammed, he declared that the woman he saw in Bagram with the prisoner number 650 was actually Dr. Aafia Siddiqui. But the US had previously denied the presence of any female detainees in Bagram. And they denied that Aafia was ever held there except for medical treatment in 2008 after they shot her. But as we're going to find out, it was more of medical mistreatment. So it was likely that Aafia was taken on rendition. But what is rendition? Rendition flights and what have you. The CIA, they globally abduct suspected terrorists. Over 3,000 people since 2001 have been abducted by the CIA. And over the majority of them are taken to places that are known for torture. Egypt, Morocco, and the like. And the EU allow it on their territory. They don't mind. So it's likely that Aafia Siddiqui, not likely, we're sure, that Aafia Siddiqui was taken to Bagram. But what is Bagram? Because many of us, we don't know. We've heard the name before. But we're not entirely sure as to what Bagram actually is. And at one time, Bagram, it held twice as many prisoners as Guantanamo Bay. And likely holds still hundreds. The prisoners are crammed into wire cages, routinely tortured, forced to sleep on floor mats, and have buckets for toilets, or they had buckets for toilets until recently. And many prisoners are held there secretly and have been there for years, having no access to lawyers or have any knowledge of even the charges against them. Perhaps most of them are just innocent victims and only guilty of being a Muslim in the wrong place at the wrong time. Don't you know that Allah Azza wa Jalla said, وَمَا نَقَمُوا مِنْهُمْ إِلَّا إِن يُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ الْعَزِيزِ الْحَمِيدِ. They had done nothing wrong, they had no fault except that they believed in Allah, the Almighty, the one worthy of all of the praise. In 2005, in The Guardian, they reported that a prisoner by the name of Mustafa was blindfolded, handcuffed, gagged, forced to bend over a table by 3 US soldiers, and then he said that they forcibly rammed a stick up my rectum. And he said that I could not stop screaming when this happened. Another case involving Wasim Abdurrahman and Ahmed Ad-Dimawi, they said that for over 40 days, threatened with dogs, stripped and photographed in shameful and obscene positions, placed in a cage with a hook hanging from a rope, and hung on it blindfolded for 2 days. Both men were never charged and later released. Other prisoners were beaten, chained, hung from the ceiling from their wrists, and subjected to numerous forms of torture and abuse. For months, sometimes years, many of them tragically died. Aafia was there. Aafia was in such a place. But this is under the guidance of the West, the land of the free, the home of the brave, the catalyst of human rights. But just because the oppression, murder and torture and degradation isn't happening on our doorstep, brothers, it happens. Sisters, it happens. And it's about time that the Muslim woke up and stood up. Don't wait for anyone to come and rescue us. Don't expect the knight in shining armor to come and rescue us, because we have ourselves to blame. We have our lack of iman to blame, that hatred in the heart that changes nothing. We have that to blame, because this is real life. Bullets hurt. The pain of rape, torture and bereavement hurts. This ain't the movies where a person, they're okay in 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then they ride off into the sunset. This is not the movies, it's real life. Now Aafia, she remains in the US detention facility in New York in poor health, subjugated to humiliating and degrading strip searches every time, and cavity searches. What's a cavity search? Anyone know? Searching the anus and the private parts every time a legal representative goes to see her. She may suffer from brain damage, and there is a possibility that part of her intestine has been removed. Now, in terms of Aafia's children, 2 of them, alhamdulillah, have been returned to her family. Ahmed and Maryam. But Sulaiman is still unknown, likely to be dead. Now, you look at the statements of some of the professionals. Iqbal Haidar, who's the co-person of the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan, he said that there are dark circles under her eyes, a badly repaired broken nose, made up teeth. While she was in detention, it knocked out all of her teeth. It would pull out her hair one by one. Repeated rape. Urinate on the Quran and forcing her to walk on the Quran whilst naked. Hitting her with a gun butting. This happened to Dr. Aafia Siddiqui. Crumbled lips, and overall a picture of a severely dehydrated sick person, almost as if on the deathbed. It shows the inhumane brutality of an apparently civilized nation by the administration of a country which claims to be the most civilized. According to the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan and Aafia's family, her physical condition is appalling and she needs immediate medical treatment. outside of the prison where it's not being given. They said that at a time, her wound from the gunshot was oozing blood. Her clothes soaked in blood in the prison. Early in custody, one of her kidneys was removed. Yet her abdominal pain still persists. She has large stitches from her torso from the surgery which was negligently done. And she may be suffering from internal bleeding. Her teeth were removed. Her nose was broken and improperly reset. Her gunshot wound was improperly dressed. And her overall condition is dire and life-threatening. But imagine all of this, all of the things that I've mentioned, happened before Dr. Aafia Siddiqui was found guilty not too long ago. Before she was found guilty. Imagine, what has she done? Imagine that these people will treat serial rapists, pedophiles, child traffickers, murderers, thieves with dignity. Give them rights. Give them food, a television. Food, a television, computer education, exercise. But when it comes to many Muslims in this climate, there are no rights. The rights go out of the window. Their so-called Geneva Convention goes out of the window. So they talk all day about rights in this country when they are causing so much corruption and fasad elsewhere. And then they'll turn around to you and me and say, we've given you so much. And this is how you repay us when someone wants to stand up and speak about the injustices that are going on around the world. But think of the case of Aafia Siddiqui. Think. But is thinking enough? Is pondering enough? Is reflecting enough? It's not. It's not enough. But what can we realistically do? Because sitting down and listening to a talk is good. But what does that realistically do for Dr. Aafia Siddiqui? It's no good us just sitting down and then going back and resuming our normal lives. It's no good to her. But what we need to do, inshallah ta'ala, is raise awareness. Because maybe you're hearing things about the case for the first time today. And if you're here and you're hearing things about the case for the first time today, what about those people that are not here today that don't know nothing? What about them? They don't know. And if a person is not aware, how can they care? They can't.